Good morning, Cardinals. This class video is for Wednesday, April 29th, 2020. Hope you guys are great today. Thank you for coming to class these last couple days, and let's dive right in. So, first thing I wanted to talk about was this was the homework you guys turned in yesterday. I've looked through a few of them so far, and great job. This is a painting of, we call it the Christ Pantocrator, or Pantocrator. I'm still learning how to pronounce that, actually. So while I don't know exactly how to pronounce that word, I do know that it is one of the most famous icons in Christian art today. It's actually on the top of Mount Sinai. For those of you who remember the Old Testament, Mount Sinai is where Moses received the Ten Commandments. It's currently on this monastery called St. Catherine's that's been built up at the top of the mountain. Painted back in the 6th century, though, on wood. When you initially kind of like look at it, like it might kind of look strange. His face may kind of look weird, but you wouldn't think that like this is a painting of like two persons. You see one Jesus in that picture, hopefully, unless like you have like double vision or something. So when you look at that painting, you kind of see like kind of some strange characteristics or facial expressions on Jesus, especially on the right side, but you don't see two people, which is why I think like from a theological perspective, I think this is one of the. I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. One of the better depictions of Christ in art, because it displays kind of the truth that Jesus Christ is one person having two natures, a human nature and a divine nature. So kind of on the left side, if I can move this screen over a little bit. Here we go. You see a face that kind of looks like it's scowling, kind of looks sort of like serious. Impressions might be like kind of looks hard or severe or austere or judgmental. He's holding the gospel in his hand, the word of life. Some other interpreters have said that that book contains is the book of life, containing all the names of people who are saved and those who are damned. So like this like serious judgmental God. This is kind of like the side of this painting that depicts the divine nature of Jesus. Okay, but simultaneously on the right side, sorry about that, guys, had a technical difficulty. So we were talking about this painting. Talked about the left side. It kind of depicts a more like serious side of Jesus, judgmental. The book in his hand, some people say, is the book of life, which contains all the names of those who are saved as well as the names of those who are damned. This very like serious, judgmental God who is on earth to bring his truth and to bring his salvation. On the right side, you kind of see like a more soft version. Again, it's the same person. So whoever painted this is an absolute genius. Because if you look at the right side of my screen here, it's a totally different impression, right? Like you see like this like gentle, calm, very like reserved, very subdued Jesus, very human, right? His hand is kind of raised in blessing, like he's kind of like reaching out to us, very, very like kind of extending out towards us in mercy. And so, why I think this painting was really cool is because I think it demonstrates the truth that Jesus, again, is both God and man. And it doesn't have to be two people to do that. In who he is, Jesus kind of contains both all of the characteristics and qualities of God as well as a human. So I think it's just an amazing mystery. Though that being said, have been through the centuries different heresies, different kind of spin-offs on what we just said. A heresy is a denial of an essential truth of the Catholic faith. Okay, so what that means is we have the teaching that we just covered. Jesus is one person who has two natures, a human nature and a divine nature. Okay, he's both fully God and man. Okay, at the same time. Now, different heresies about Jesus that have kind of taken place over time. I'm going to move my screen here. Could be any denial of that one person, two natures teaching of the church. So the first one that was most popular, you might have heard of this one before in previous classes, is called Arianism. Arianism was popular during the 4th century, so in the earliest stages of Christianity in the world by a guy by the name of Arius, hence the name Arianism. And Arius basically proposed that Jesus wasn't quite God, like he was really special. In fact, he was God's greatest creation, but he wasn't God himself. Since Jesus was created by God, he's the greatest creation, but he's not God because he was created. Now, that was actually condemned ferociously by a very, very famous saint. You probably know him as Santa Claus, but St. Nicholas famously lost his temper on Arius at a church council about this because he was talking about, Jesus wasn't quite God, and, whatever you say, like, can't really change my mind. And so he turned out to lose his temper and punched Arius in the face at a church council. So St. Nicholas, Santa Claus, kind of bringing the truth of God there. The other heresy, the second heresy that I wanted to mention was a belief called Nestorianism, which came along a little bit later in the 5th century. And again, it's kind of similar. Any heresy is kind of a slight spin-off of the truth. Okay? So Nestorianism basically said that Jesus was not one person. He was actually two people. So he was a human being and God, but separately. So like a lot of people were really kind of questioning, how can someone be one person but like be two natures? Like, we're human beings, we have human natures. How can we have like two natures, like a human nature and like a dog nature or like a cat nature? It's impossible. So with Jesus, it had to be the case that he was two people, not actually one person. Why is that wrong? Well, obviously Jesus can't be two people. It's hard to conceive of one person walking on earth being two people at the same time. So that one was condemned as well. The truth, again, is that Jesus is one person, but he has two natures, okay? The last heresy that I wanted to cover quickly was a heresy called monophysitism, okay? And that's a big mouthful of words, but when you think of monophysitism, think mixture. So this heresy taught that instead of Jesus being fully human and fully divine, he was kind of a combination of human and divine. He wasn't like fully human, he also wasn't fully divine, but he's kind of like a mixture, like 50% human and 50% God together. Why that doesn't work is kind of, it doesn't really make sense from a theological perspective. So those are kind of the three heresies I wanted to walk through. And again, I think they're important because a lot of people get this wrong. A lot of people get this wrong. They think that Jesus was two people, or they think that Jesus only had one nature. Again, every heresy is a slight spin-off on the truth, and thus is condemned for the reasons why it kind of deviates from the truth. Again, Jesus, fully human being, but also is the second person of the Trinity. That is what we believe. That is what the church has taught since her early days, and that I think is most consistent with what the Gospels and the early church writers have taught and have written. Okay, so for the rest of the day, I'm going to be posting a review guide on Blackbaud and Google Classroom here in just a moment. Make sure you go back through. The guide will kind of give you instructions on how to do it, but go back through all my previous videos and make sure you have the correct answers to the questions on that review guide, because it's going to be really helpful for our quiz tomorrow, which will be worth 25 points. It'll be available starting at 9 a.m., but if you need a little bit more time to review and prepare, obviously you have the whole entire day tomorrow to take that quiz. For those of you who have tuned in, let's see if I can move this long enough. The secret phrase for +1 bonus points on the quiz is "It's currently raining outside." So I got the inspiration from that famous song, "Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head." So that is your little secret phrase to message me in a Blackbaud message for +1 on the quiz tomorrow. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great day. I hope to see you guys in a little while for Mass at St. Lawrence. And again, look for that review guide and start reviewing, going back through your notes. And again, if you haven't read the Dawn Treader chapter 14, please do that, because there will be questions from that chapter on the quiz tomorrow as well. Take care, guys.